And turning to the Middle East, there's a big diplomatic push underway in the Middle East.
Hamas is now saying that they are ready to come back to the bargaining table. Fox News correspondent Matt Finn has more from Tel Aviv.
As the fighting continues in Lebanon and Gaza, diplomatic efforts to end the war are ramping up. Hamas is now saying it's open to making a deal that will lead to a permanent ceasefire. Right now, Egyptian, Qatari, and American negotiators are conducting parallel efforts to reach a short-term pause in the fighting. An agreement is unlikely before the presidential election, but Fox is told conversations continue every day.
We are open to any agreement or ideas that end the suffering of our people in Gaza and stop the fighting once and for all.
The White House is sending 2 special envoys to Israel this week, hoping to move the ball forward. And they could get some help from an unlikely source, the IDF, which says it's nearing the end of its operational phase on both fronts. And senior commanders are urging Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to come up with diplomatic solutions to end the fighting.
What we are going to do about it, though, is to continue to try and end the war and continue to impress upon to the government of Israel the need to end this war.
Meanwhile, we're learning more about the damage done to Iran by Israel's weekend airstrikes. Senior Pentagon officials tell Fox Israeli warplanes destroyed the 3 remaining S-300 missile defense systems protecting Iran, meaning the country is now defenseless against air attacks.
We did this for a very simple reason, because we may be required to do this again. This event is not over. We are still in the midst of it.
Iran is vowing to retaliate, but it has reduced missiles and no air defense, so a large-scale military attack is unlikely. In Tel Aviv, Matt Finn, Fox News.